Okay, so welcome back. Today we're going to talk about what are called item templates in Visual Studio. And we're going to show you what they are, how to set them up, and how to use them. And we're also going to briefly talk about an alternative that I tend to use that I find to be quicker and more efficient and a lot more usable. So what is an item template? Well, previously we did a video on what's called project templates in Visual Studio. And project templates are absolutely wonderful if you tend to use a very similar project or solution structure in your projects. For example, if most of your projects start out with a Windows form and a text box or two and some buttons and maybe an event handler and maybe a system timer, you can configure that basic structure of a project with all of those elements and all of the code you need to basically start it up. And maybe you're going to add a chart. You can have all of that into a project template, and you can start a brand new project with a different name. And if you ever worked with Visual Studio, you know how difficult it can be to rename projects. But this allows you to start up a brand new project with a brand new name and use that template project as the basis for your new project, and you can add to it and you can do whatever you want. So really wonderful feature of Visual Studio. And item templates are very similar, but as you can imagine, they're a subset of a project template. So what is an item template? Well, here I've got a project and a solution, and in that I have generated a class which is called a comport class. And you can see I've got my Form 1 and I've got my design. And here I've got a class that I've added, and it's called comport class. And it's got basically some methods where it goes out and gets all of the available ports. The user selects a port and it configures it. It opens the port. It requests data from the port. It reads whatever data is returned. It can also do streaming, where it just sits there and waits for data and handles it as it comes in. And then close the port. It's got an event handler. Whenever it receives data in the port, it handles the data. So really nice class to handle a lot of the basic chores you have associated with USB serial COM ports. So what I can do is I can save that class by itself as a template. And then when I open up a new project, I can import that template, which basically is going to give me this comport class as you see it here. And I can use that in any new project. So it's a really nice way to use existing code and speed up your workflow by using the item template. So let's say I've got a class here that I've built and I want to save it as a template. How do I do that? Well, the first thing I do is I go over and I select the class, in this case, over in the Project Explorer. And then I go up to Project, and I go down to Export Template, and it will allow you to choose template type. And this is very similar to what we did before with the project template. It defaults to project template, but I can also save an item template. And from here, I can select the class in our case, and here it is automatically selected our comport class. So I can now make that as a template, and I can go through, I can do next, and you can choose whatever you want to include in that. And this is basically just this class. And I can finish that up and create a template, which is going to be a zip file in the folder. And then what I can do is I can open up a blank project and add that comport class item template into the project. So I'm going to assume you know how to go through and finish this. I'm going to hit cancel. And let's say I've got a brand new project and I want to import this class as a template. What I can do is, like anything else I add to my project, I can select the project, right click, add new item. And what it will do is it should show up here in the list of, in our case, C# items. And here I've got one example that I've done before, a chart class template, or I can go through, I can search if I want the comport class template. But here I've got the template, and all I have to do is select add, and it will add this class template to our project. So really nice way to save code that you tend to use on a regular basis, and you can just load it in and change it as you want for this particular project. Now, while that is nice, I tend to use a different approach that I find to be a little bit faster, more intuitive, and easier to do. Because basically what this does is it saves it as a zip file, and trying to remember after, a month or 6 months or a year what you've got for templates, what's actually in the template, can be kind of confusing. So what I tend to do is I will go to my Comport class and I will copy and paste that into Notepad++. And I use Notepad++ a lot for coding. And one of the reasons is because you can, for example, in Notepad++, you can go up here and select language. And here you can tell it, hey, this is C# code. And as you can see, it will color and highlight all of the code so it looks very familiar to you as C# code. But what I can do is I can just copy and paste that class into Notepad++, and then if I want to reuse that class, I have it available. I don't have to go through and start up a project and load in the template and see what's actually in there. I can just start up Notepad++ and save all of my classes into a folder with all my C# text files of all my classes. And for example, I've got Notepad++, I've got a CSV read-write class that I use, I've got a line chart class, I've got a com functions class, and so on. So it's really nice to be able to just start up Notepad++ and have all of your classes as text files, and they're tabs in Notepad++, and I can just jump through and say, yeah, I need a line chart, but I don't need it to do this, I need it to do that. And I can just selectively copy and paste the code into my project as a class, and that can help me a lot. If it's basically just a text file, it's a lot easier to read, easier to back up, and I find it to be a lot easier. So 2 options you've got. You can do item templates, or you can just do text files and open them up in Notepad++ and look at them immediately. So that's about it for this one. If you're liking these videos, I encourage you to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, but most of all, please let others know that we're here so we get some views. Really appreciate it. Otherwise, take care. Have a really good day. Thanks.